Growing up, I believed marriage was a lifelong, unbreakable bond. My parents had a seemingly perfect relationship, full of unwavering love and devotion. This belief shaped my worldview, and I carried it into my marriage with Laura. We met in college, she was outgoing, and I was quiet. Our differences complemented each other, and we quickly fell in love and planned our future. We married right after graduation, full of dreams. Life was busy but fulfilling, with two beautiful daughters, Beth and Janie, at the center of our world. Laura kept her maiden name, which I respected as a sign of her independence. We built a comfortable life, and I believed we were the perfect family. But life threw an unexpected curveball that unraveled our seemingly perfect world. Tonight, my wife is with her lover. She confessed her affair after I found text messages between them. Initially, I didn't realize this marked a turning point for our family. Since then, our lives have been chaotic. Tonight, she left dressed elegantly with an overnight bag, awkwardly attempting to kiss me on the cheek, which I evaded. It's still hard to accept her infidelity. What does that say about me? Despite living in a modern era, I struggled with this harsh reality. After going through various stages of grief, I realized I had to live with her decision, though I'm far from pleased. Now, I must figure out how to cope with the consequences. My name is Jason Fairburn, and my wife's name is Laura Staples. We have two daughters, Beth and Janie. After discovering my wife's infidelity, I saw a lawyer to explore my options. I was filled with indignation, and after spilling my emotions, the lawyer explained what divorce would mean for me. Despite the prevalence of weapons in Texas, shooting a cheating spouse is illegal, as all states are now no fault. Family courts tend to favor the mother in custody cases unless she's a danger. In Texas, mothers typically get custody, the house, furniture, car, and financial support. As a man initiating divorce, I would lose the house and most custody, seeing my kids only one night a week, every other weekend, and 2 weeks in summer. I'd end up paying for my wife to enjoy time with another man, while I live in a cramped space and hope my kids don't forget me. I asked my lawyer if I could kick my wife out. She frowned. That's a bad idea, Jason. She could get a court order to return home, claiming a hostile environment harmful to the kids, and you'd be forced out. That's not a good idea. So, I'm totally screwed. My lawyer, whom I love dearly despite her huge retainer, suggested a tactic I'd heard before but thought was just a ridiculous rumor. Cheaper to keep her or look the other way. Basically, if I tolerate her affair, I get to keep my house, money, and time with the kids. I tried visualizing both options, and the thought of losing my kids and home was a nightmare. Realizing that living without them wasn't an option, I had to figure out my next steps, despite my marriage vows feeling meaningless now. A few weeks later, after calming down and resisting the urge to lash out at my cheating wife, I sat down with Laura to talk about our marriage. Surprisingly, she was calm. I grabbed a beer, and we sat at the kitchen table. I began, "How are we going to stay married if you want another guy?" "Jason, you don't understand. I'm still your wife. I still love you, and we'll be together for the rest of our lives. What I do with Scott is just once a week because I need something you can't give me right now." I was frustrated. "So I'm not giving you pleasure anymore." "Great," I said, my voice dripping with frustration. "No, that's not what I mean," she responded, trying to calm the situation. "Well, that's what it sounds like." I was already yelling, my anger escalating. "Jason, I love you and would never deny you anything," she said, trying to reassure me. "Oh, thanks. That makes it all better. I'm really happy to get pity entertainment now and then." Sarcasm dripped from my words. I went to the kitchen for another beer, feeling the need to escape. Laura put her hands on my shoulders, trying to offer comfort. "Jason, I did everything wrong. Let's go to the bedroom and I'll show you how much I love you," she suggested, her voice filled with regret. "Why would you want to do that? You just said I don't satisfy you. Why don't you go to your boyfriend instead?" I couldn't take it anymore and stormed to my basement office, slamming the door behind me. Thus began my life with an unfaithful wife who showed no remorse. While she was out, I moved all her stuff to the basement bedroom. When she got home, all hell broke loose. "Jason, where are my clothes?" she screamed, her voice echoing through the house. "Since you didn't want to be with me and were thinking about your boyfriend, I thought it best we sleep in separate bedrooms. Your stuff is in the basement." "You're welcome," I said, walking away. "Now you won't have to worry about bad fun with me anymore." After that, the house got very cold.
Damn. What am I going to do now? I'm not sleeping in that basement bedroom. As soon as Jason left, I rearranged everything. The kids, Beth and Janie, watched, confused. Once done, I started making Jason's favorite dinner, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and peas. When he got home, the meal was nearly ready. I told him to get the kids washed and ready for dinner. He did, and we sat down to eat. The girls chatted. Jason talked to them, but didn't look at me or say a word. After dinner, Jason cleaned up, as was our routine. He got the girls ready for bed, read them a story, and turned out the lights. He then went to our home office, typing away on the computer. When he came upstairs, I was already in bed. He took a shower, brushed his teeth, and got into bed silently. I tried to snuggle up, but he pulled my hand away and tucked the sheet between us. The next few weeks were the same. The house felt icy. I believe Jason will come around eventually. He'll realize my time with Scott means nothing to our marriage. I just have to be patient.
A few months later, I still hadn't touched Laura. My frustration was growing daily. To relieve stress, I started running at 5 a.m. The first days were brutal, but by the third week, it got easier. I started enjoying the early mornings and gradually increased my distance, eventually walking over 6 miles a day. I lost some weight and felt better physically, though not emotionally. I needed a change and thought about buying a trailer and truck for camping. I knew Laura would question it, but I had a ready response. "Why do you need a boyfriend?" I took the kids to an RV show, and they were thrilled. They made plans for each trailer we saw, wanting to go camping and traveling. Although I had a budget, I quickly realized that modern camping trailers and trucks are expensive. After much deliberation, I decided to buy a used 2-year-old Grand Design Transcend model with bunk beds for the girls and a double bed for me. It had all the amenities we needed, including 1.5 bathrooms, 2 TVs, and air conditioning. The trailer was nearly 37 feet long. Next, I found a 2-year-old GMC 2500 HD crew cab Denali with low mileage and a diesel engine, sold by an elderly couple. They had health issues and planned to spend time in Portugal instead of camping. I got a good deal and bought the truck. In total, I invested about $80,000 in the truck and trailer. I planned to take my kids on trips around the country. I wanted to show Laura that this is an important time in our kids' lives, and she could choose to be part of it or not. If she declined, it would ultimately be her loss.
A few months later, with her boyfriend Scott. "So, Laura, your husband and kids went camping. Why didn't you go?" he asked. "I'm mad at Jason for buying that trailer," she replied. "So, you don't like camping?" Scott probed. "It's not that. He's trying to control me because he's mad about us," she explained. "I told him it's my body and I can do what I want." Scott laughed. "Didn't you say he agreed to this?" "Not exactly. I told him I was going to do it. He found out when he saw my texts and found rubbers in my purse. We had a big fight. I told him he doesn't own me." Scott continued. "So you caught him by surprise. How did he react?" "He just shook his head and walked away." "Are you going to leave him?" Scott asked. "No, I love him, our kids, and our life. I don't want to change anything." "You don't think Jason will object to you having another man?" "He'll realize it doesn't mean anything," Laura insisted. Scott warned, "He might not be happy playing second fiddle." "Why would you say that?" "No man likes knowing his woman is cheating. Does he want to watch us?" "No, he's not like that," Laura said. "So, you haven't been with him?" "Not for a while," she admitted. "What can I do to get him to touch me again?" "You're in a tough spot. If you want to keep him, you need to act fast. Maybe we need to take a break so you can fix things with him," Scott suggested. "You think that's what I should do?" Laura pondered. "For a smart woman, you're clueless sometimes. Just try to win him back," Scott urged. Laura fell silent, considering Scott's advice. He continued, "Do you like your life now?" "Of course," Laura replied. "Then go home, make up with your husband, and hope it's not too late. Otherwise, you might end up alone," Scott warned. Laura left Scott, thinking about his advice. She wondered if she had gone too far with Jason and whether he would take her back.
I loaded the trailer and the girls packed their things for a week-long camping trip to a state park in the Eastern Carolinas. The weather forecast promised perfect temperatures and light rain. Expecting Laura wouldn't join us, I planned accordingly. Once the girls were ready, we got in the truck and hit the road. The week went wonderfully. The weather was great and we enjoyed hiking and having fun. One day at the water park was a huge success. Surprisingly, the girls weren't as disappointed by Laura's absence as I expected. They noticed their mom spending less time at home and with them. I reassured them that nothing their mom was doing was because of them. It was all about Laura.
Damn it, I'm late. Jason and the girls went camping. He left a note on the kitchen table. We're going south for a week, back next Sunday. That was it. I called Scott. They're camping. What am I supposed to do? You blew it. You better hope your husband comes back with the kids. If not, you're totally screwed. There's nothing I can do to help. You have to keep your family together. Good luck. Scott hung up.
The week flew by, and Sunday night the girls and I headed home. I had to work the next day and had planned summer activities for the girls, hoping their mother could help with driving and picking them up. When we arrived home, I was surprised to see Laura greet the girls. They hugged her and then went to their rooms with their dirty clothes. I started cleaning the camper and Laura lingered around pretending to be interested. She said, "I'm glad you're home. It's been quiet here all week." I replied, "How was your week with your boyfriend?" She didn't answer. She asked about the campground, and I told her it was in North Carolina near a water park. After finishing with the trailer, I went inside, started the laundry, took a shower, and began making dinner. Laura offered to cook, but I said I'd handle it. As we ate, Laura acted unusually interested in our week. I asked if she was going out tonight, and she said no, adding that her family was her priority. I found this hard to believe, but decided to talk about the week's plans. A few months later, my life had become strange. I had an uneasy truce with Laura. Despite her affair, I decided not to divorce her to avoid losing custody of the kids. Texas family law seemed to favor infidelity. Laura and I both knew that separating would hurt the kids, so I stayed married to her until the kids were grown. After learning about her affair, I went into defense mode. I bought a travel trailer and took the girls camping, much to Laura's displeasure. She saw it as revenge, but I didn't care. I needed to show her that actions have consequences.
Since I started dating Scott, my schedule hadn't changed much. We meet once or twice a week, usually in the afternoon. We have fun, talk a little, and then go about our business. I enjoy being with Scott for a few hours. It's very different from being with Jason. Now that Jason knows about Scott, he won't touch me or make love to me. It's become cold in the house, and Jason is very secretive about what he does outside the house.
State law says that infidelity isn't a factor in divorce. If we divorce, Laura has an advantage because the courts don't care about who's cheating. So I started questioning my role in this situation. If Laura could have a boyfriend and face no consequences, why couldn't I have a girlfriend? It seemed fair. I began doing activities I enjoyed and socializing more. I avoided online dating sites, fearing meeting someone dangerous, and focused on activities I liked. I joined a bicycling club, started running again, learned an instrument, and hiked with my kids. Over time, I met some nice women who set me up on dates. That's how I met Diana. Diana is 3 years younger, divorced, with a 4-year-old daughter. She's an orthodontist, tall, dark-haired, blue-eyed, pretty, slim, and has a great sense of humor. We got to know each other through the cycling club and went out a few times. We both wanted fun, not commitment. I invited Diana and her daughter to go luxury camping with my kids, which Laura never liked doing. I didn't tell Laura about Diana, thinking if the state courts didn't care, why should I? A year later, I reached my limit. I needed to address long-standing issues. I knew Laura wasn't ready to be a faithful wife and mother, and I wanted to have a serious talk with Diana. One Friday night, I bought wine for Laura and beer for myself. I handed Laura the glass and asked, "Are you in love with him?" Laura took a big sip of wine, avoiding eye contact. "Come on, Laura. You started this. It's time to finish it," I said. The kids were in the TV room, and it was a good time to talk. "So, how do we want to do this? The easy way or the expensive way?" I asked, trying to push the conversation forward. "What are you talking about, Jason?" she replied, clearly confused. "How long did you cheat while we were married?" I asked directly. "Why does that matter?" she asked, attempting to deflect. "Why change anything now?" I shook my head, frustrated. "I know what you've been doing." "Do you know what I've been doing?" I hinted, implying my own secrets. "Well, you and the girls go camping, you bike a lot, and you've been busy," she said, listing my usual activities. "Yes, and I've done a few other things," I responded, suggesting there was more she didn't know. Laura looked at me with a mix of amusement and caution, clearly not wanting to escalate the situation. She believed that in a divorce, I would suffer most, but the kids would suffer more, ensuring I would do everything to minimize their pain. She relied on this to do whatever she wanted, knowing I would go to great lengths for our children. However, she didn't know I had my own plans. "Laura, you didn't answer my question. Do you love him? Are you planning to keep seeing him? I pressed. Jason, I don't really have a boyfriend, she said, denying it again. For God's sake, Laura, cut the crap. How long have you been with Scott? And how many others were there before him? Are our daughters even mine? You've been a lousy wife. I'm not happy with you or our marriage. It hasn't been a real marriage for the last 2 years, and tonight that changes, I declared. What are you talking about? She asked, bewildered. Oh, stop with the sweetheart act. To you, I'm just a security blanket doing all the boring work while you have fun with your boyfriend. We haven't touched each other in ages, and I don't see that changing, I said, laying out the reality. Laura stayed silent. I continued, It's time we do something about it. What are you talking about? She asked again. I'm talking about ending this sham. You need to move out. I'm tired of being used, I said firmly. Laura looked up, shocked. I'm not moving out of our house, Jason. That's nonsense, she said, refusing to believe it. It's clear you'd rather be with your boyfriend than part of this family. Decide what you want, Laura, I said, finishing my beer. I walked to the kitchen sink, feeling my blood pressure rising. I needed to get out. I had thrown down the gauntlet and wanted to see how Laura would react.
Damn it. I need to get a lawyer to make sure Jason doesn't kick me out. Why can't he just get over it? I'm not denying him anything, but he hasn't approached me in a long time. He doesn't want me. If I can't make him want me, we're screwed. If we divorce, I get the kids, the house, and part of his income. Jason won't move out, and I have the advantage. I just need to be patient, and things will fall into place. It would be better if I could get Jason to make love to me again. I love him, but I need Scott, too. I feel so good with Scott. If I keep this up, everything will be fine. Jason knows I'll eventually come back to him. This thing with Scott won't last forever. After a while, Jason and I will get back to our relationship. But for now, I need Scott too.
If Laura thinks I'll put up with her behavior forever, she's wrong. It's time for consequences. I started managing our family finances online. I set up a new account for myself and transferred half of our cash reserves into it, along with my paycheck and bonuses. Each month, I transferred money to our house account to cover half of the bills. Laura needed to realize that the freebies were over, and she had to pay her share of our living expenses. I didn't want to subsidize her spending on her boyfriend, even though she wasn't using hotel rooms.
I didn't want Jason to know I consulted a lawyer. I found a family law attorney who explained the state's no-fault divorce laws, stating that mothers usually get custody. She asked, "You want your children?" "Of course," I replied. She took notes and asked about our incomes, child support, alimony, and our mortgage. She inquired if there were reasons I might not get custody. I said no, asserting that I'm a good mother. However, I worried that my relationship with Scott over the past 2 years could affect the court's view of me as a mother. Leaving the lawyer's office, doubts lingered about how messy a fight with Jason could get.
Jason called, and we planned a camping trip for the next weekend. Matilda is excited. She loves Jason's trailer. The 3 girls stay in the bunk beds at the back, chatting and laughing for hours. Jason and I occupy the bedroom at the front, keeping the door closed. I can't understand why Jason's wife doesn't appreciate him. He's a great guy, handsome, smart, talented, energetic, with a great smile and a wicked sense of humor. He makes me and the kids laugh and clearly cares about people. Laura's loss is my gain. I divorced an idiot who didn't want to be a father, and I have a wonderful daughter who is my world. When I met Jason, I saw a man who needed care. I realized his wife was using him, wanting it both ways. Marilyn introduced us and explained how Jason's wife mocks him. Knowing our state's divorce laws, I understood he was cornered. Divorcing her meant losing his kids, so he endured it until they grew up. I wasn't looking for a serious relationship, but needed a casual friend to relieve stress. Jason turned out to be perfect. Camping with him and his daughters was a bonus for Matilda and me. We had fun, and Matilda adores his girls who treat her like a little sister. The longest we camped was 9 days in Florida, near Disney. We spent 2 days in the park, did some hiking, and enjoyed the beach. It was a great vacation. Jason enjoyed our time together, and his girls loved it too. We are planning more adventures.
I visited my lawyer while Jason took the girls camping in Florida. He was gone for a week, so I used the time to clarify my custody rights if Jason tried to force me out. My attorney, Claire Barnett, is in her early 50s with over 2 decades of family law experience. Claire, I need to confirm my custody rights. Last time you said if Jason divorced me, I'd get the kids, the house, and monthly payments from him, I said, seeking reassurance. Yes, we discussed that, Claire replied. Generally, mothers get custody, but there are exceptions. If your husband proves he's the more suitable parent, he could get primary custody. Courts don't automatically favor the mother if she's deemed unsuitable. Are there any issues I should know about? No. Well, Jason does spend a lot of time with the girls, I admitted. Can you elaborate? Claire asked, probing for details. He takes them camping and attends their school events. I don't enjoy outdoor activities and miss some events due to my demanding job, I explained. Claire rolled her eyes, sensing my deceit. She knew family courts could see through such excuses and prioritize the best parent. Claire understood that Jason's active involvement with the children put him ahead. Laura, unless you become a more proactive mother, your chances of getting custody are slim. Are you seeing another man? Claire inquired, cutting to the chase. Yes, a few times a week, but not for long, I confessed. If you're not honest with yourself and me, you'll lose custody. How much time do you really spend with your boyfriend? Claire pressed. I admitted how much time I spent with Scott. Claire frowned, realizing this would portray me as neglecting my family for my boyfriend. Crap, Claire thought, knowing this wouldn't bode well in court.
It was time for the first round of consequences for my unfaithful wife. On Saturday night, after the kids had gone to bed, I grabbed a beer and poured Laura a glass of wine. She glanced at me, knowing this meant I wanted to talk. It's a little late for a beer, isn't it? She asked. It's only 9 o'clock. I want to talk about our marriage and our daily responsibilities. What do you mean? We need to clarify what each of us is responsible for. I've made a list, and I'm sure you'll have input. Let's start. Laura took a large sip of wine. I took out a notebook and began. We need to sort out our finances. We need to decide who pays for what. I'll cover the truck and camper, but household and kids' expenses should be shared. I paused to let that sink in. I think we should create a budget to clarify this. Laura looked overwhelmed. I laid out a reasonable breakdown of expenses, making it clear I wouldn't fund her relationship with her boyfriend. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to keep paying for everything while she enjoyed other activities. We talked until 1 a.m. I yawned, stretched, and told Laura I was done for the day. I left the paperwork and bills on the desk, then headed for a shower in bed.
What the hell? Jason wants to split our finances, making each of us contribute half for the house and kids' tuition. He knows I don't make as much as he does. When I told him, he just said, maybe you should consider a higher-paying job. As if I could. It's all about the time I spend with Scott.
So, Laura, why did you want to see me so soon? Are you planning to file for divorce? No, but last Saturday night, Jason wanted to talk about our finances. He wants each of us to contribute 50% to household expenses. Claire's eyes widened, and her eyebrows raised slightly. Tell me exactly what you and he discussed. Laura explained the long conversation with her husband. I asked questions and took notes. It became clear that Laura was avoiding the consequences of her actions. She had been seeing another man for almost 3 years, and her husband found out 2 years ago. He realized that he would be paying for her infidelity and risk losing the kids and money. Everything Laura said indicated that her husband was preparing for a separation agreement, a prelude to divorce that divides responsibilities and signals the breakdown of the marriage. The main issues were their 2 daughters, who would have primary custody and who would stay in the home. Laura couldn't prove she was the best parent since she spent time with her boyfriend, while her husband was with the children. Family courts take this seriously. Jason was quietly building a strong case for custody. I tried to tell Laura that things were not going well for her. Her husband was preparing to show the court that they were living separately and each contributing to half of the expenses. Jason made more money so he could afford to take care of the kids even after the separation.
I need to get Jason back in my bed and acting like my husband again. We haven't been physical engaged in months, and he must be desperate. If I can get him back in bed, he'll soon realize that Scott means nothing. Scott just gets the leftovers. I'm Jason's wife, and my time with Scott doesn't change that.
Lately, Laura had been hinting that she wanted to get physically engaged again, saying she wouldn't deny me anything. A chill ran down my spine at the idea. I wasn't interested in being with someone unfaithful. After the girls went to bed, she gave me strange looks, hinting she wanted to be close again. I didn't care. All I wanted was for her to take care of the girls and the house. When the girls grew up and went to university, I planned to end this sham of a marriage. Laura could move on to her next husband, and he could deal with her infidelities. A few months later, I had enough. I've been thinking about ending this marriage. I can't tolerate our situation anymore, I told Diane. Diane and I are starting to see a future together, so I need to do something about Laura. I decided to visit Scott for a heart-to-heart talk about Laura and their future. On Wednesday at 6 in the evening, I waited by Scott's car. When he saw me, he dropped his phone, muttering, "Duck you." "You better pick it up, phones are expensive," I said. He retrieved the phone, clearly expecting a confrontation. "Don't worry, Scott. I'm not here to hurt you. We need to talk," I continued. I nodded at my truck. "Get in. I'll buy you a beer and we'll settle some things." We drove to an Irish pub, and I found a quiet corner. I ordered an IPA and nodded for Scott to do the same. His fear was palpable. "Okay, we need to work something out," I began. "Relax. Just answer a few questions honestly. How long have you been with Laura?" For a while now," he stammered. "Define a while. More precisely, please," I pressed. "A little over 3 years," he admitted. I nodded inwardly, relieved he wasn't the father of my children. "Why did you and Laura start this?" "We met, talked, and she said she was tired of her marriage routine. It just happened," he explained. "Do you love her? Have you developed feelings?" I asked. "It's complicated. I have feelings, but I don't want her to leave you. I like the no-commitment relationship. I'm not ready to settle down," he confessed. "How many women are you seeing?" I asked. His avoidance told me everything. "You don't have an exclusive relationship with her, do you?" I pressed further. He shook his head no. I realized Laura might be counting on him as a backup, but that wasn't my problem. Be prepared for her to show up with a suitcase. Having fun with someone else's wife has consequences. Do whatever you want, but remember, I won't tell Laura what to do, nor will I stop doing what I need to, I warned. I stood up, tossed $40 on the table, and cautioned, "Be careful in dark places," then walked away.
I needed to get out of the house, so I went to Scott's apartment. He let me in, checking the hallway to ensure I was alone. We spent a couple of hours together until he said he had a doctor's appointment and needed to go. As I got dressed, he hurriedly pushed me out into the hallway.
A week after talking to Scott, I decided to take the next step. My attorney had the divorce papers ready, and I arranged for them to be delivered to Laura at home. I had all the evidence needed to seek full custody of the girls. Diana, who had become very close to me, waited quietly in the background. When the divorce was finalized, I planned to ask her to move in with me. In the evening, after the girls were in bed, I handed Laura a glass of wine. She knew something serious was coming. "You need to stay home tomorrow morning. A package will arrive for you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What? You know what it is?" she replied, leaning back and sighing. "I knew this could happen. Why do we have to go through with this? Can't we just do our own things for a while?" she asked, attempting to find an alternative. "You started this. You knew I wouldn't tolerate your affair, but you also knew divorce courts don't care about infidelity. You counted on getting custody and making me pay. All I wanted was a faithful wife." "Now it's time to face the consequences," I responded, feeling a surge of emotion. I stood up to control my emotions, got a beer, and returned to the table. "Better to discuss things now than pay lawyers later," I suggested, hoping to resolve things amicably. "Jace, I'm going to fight the divorce. I love you and our family," she said, her voice pleading. I held up my hand to stop her. "Your actions show otherwise. You've shown your love for Scott, not me." She looked at me, defiant. "I'll get custody of the girls, and you'll only see them once a week. You'll be paying to keep us here. Stop this divorce. We can go back to normal." 18 months ago, I wanted that. Not now. You've done too much damage. "Are you ready to give up Scott?" I asked, knowing the answer already. Silence. "Let's make a deal. I'll spend time with him and you do what you like. I'll even go camping with you and the girls," she offered, trying to bargain. I was losing control. "Why are you bargaining now? I don't want you to abandon the family for something meaningless. My time with Scott doesn't affect you. You're with the kids, and they love it. Don't lose them over a few hours a week with someone else," she said, desperate. "Laura, I used to love you. But when you started loving another man, there were consequences," I replied, trying to make her understand. "Jace, I don't love him. It's just recreational. I love you and our children. If you come back to our bed, I'll show you what you mean to me," she said, pleading for reconciliation. "Do you love me enough to give up Scott?" I asked, needing to hear her answer. No answer. Laura stared at her hands. "I thought I didn't. I know what I'm supposed to do." "Don't go to work in the morning. Good night," I said, feeling defeated. I went to bed.
Jason got up early and got the girls ready for school. We didn't speak before they left, and the girls barely looked at me as they walked out the door. My mind was racing when I heard the doorbell. I answered it and found a middle-aged woman wearing jeans and a sports jacket with an ID badge. "Good morning. Are you Laura Staples?" "Yes, I am." "Ma'am, may I see some identification to verify this, please?" I fetched my driver's license from my purse, and she took a picture of it with her phone. Then she handed me a large brown envelope. "Ma'am, you've been served." She stepped back, took a photo of me holding the envelope, and quickly left. I stood there, realizing I had just been served divorce papers. I walked inside, placed the envelope on the dining room table, and stared at it. Maybe if I didn't open it, it wouldn't be real. Jason wasn't really ending our marriage, was he? I started questioning if spending time with Scott was a good idea. What should I do now? I grabbed a glass of water, sat at the table, and slowly opened the envelope. Inside were papers that would change my life. Why did Jason have to do this? Why couldn't he just let me have my freedom? Eventually, Scott and I would end, and Jason and I would be together as the girls grew up. We'd travel and do all the things we talked about after marriage. We both work a lot, leaving little time for closeness. Seeing Scott occasionally didn't interfere with my family or mean anything to Jason. So why did it become such a big deal? When I came home after being with Scott, I felt better and was a better wife and mother. Jason didn't need to know. Admitting the affair was a mistake. I should have kept it a secret. Now, everything was out of control. I need to call Claire and see her.
When Laura Staples came to my appointment panicked, I realized her husband had had enough and was pursuing a divorce. From my perspective, he had been too patient. The divorce papers prepared by his attorney were thorough, making a strong case for him to get full custody of their 2 children and keep the family home. He meticulously documented all the times Laura neglected the family for her affair with Scott Williams, including school events, family vacations, and daily routines. There were even photos of Laura and Scott taken by friends, showing public displays of affection. Laura sat quietly as I reviewed the papers, imagining the questions a family court judge might ask. It was clear she had only told me part of the story, trying to justify her actions with Scott. The courts are rarely bothered by infidelity, but neglecting her children and husband for Scott would sink her case. I had to prepare her for the likely outcome. "Laura, have you read this petition?" I asked, watching her closely. She stammered. "I skimmed it. How do I stop this divorce? I want to keep our family together." I began to think she was delusional. Jason held most of the cards, and it would be a tough battle to even things out. "Laura, I need to speak with your husband's attorney before advising you. Remember, we've discussed what courts consider when awarding custody. From this, it's clear you might not get the custody you want. As for staying married to Jason, that's not going to happen," I said firmly. "What do you mean? He can't just walk away from me and the kids," she protested. "You've forgotten our discussions. The law allows for divorce regardless of your wishes. Jason is determined to end the marriage and keep the children with him," I explained. Laura leaned back, fidgeting. "It's because of Scott, isn't it? Jason is jealous. I thought he wouldn't care about my affair. How do I fix this?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "There's no fix, only damage control. What do you think should have happened?" I asked, but got no response. "Jason asks that you move out of the marital home by the time the divorce is finalized. There's a 60-day cooling-off period. If you agree on terms, the court can grant the divorce after 60 days. Otherwise, it will take 90 to 120 days, I continued, laying out the facts. "Can I ask for marriage counselling?" she inquired, clinging to a sliver of hope. "You can, but it must start and finish within the cooling-off period. Do you think Jason would change his mind with counselling?" I asked. Laura sighed, realising Jason was done with her infidelity. I noted that Jason had prepared well for a successful divorce with good legal advice. "I'll arrange a meeting with Jason and his attorney this week to see what we can do," I promised. "Good. What should I do now?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Go home, be with the kids, and try to talk to Jason. You're both still at home, right?" I asked. Laura nodded. "Try to talk to him. Otherwise, there's not much you can do." She stood and slowly walked out. My assistant Jackie walked in. "That one looked like a deer in headlights. I guess it didn't go well," Jackie remarked. I handed her the papers and asked her to set up an appointment with Jason's attorney as soon as possible.
My phone was strangely silent most of the day. I assumed Laura was calling me, urging me to give up on the divorce. As I was about to leave the office, my attorney called to inform me that Laura's attorney wanted to schedule a meeting as soon as possible. I agreed, wanting to get this over with. She would call back to set a date and time. Until then, I had to be careful around Laura, minimizing contact and avoiding any perceived threats. When I got home, Laura's car was in the driveway. Inside, she was with the kids, pretending to be interested in their homework. They looked at me as if to say, "What is she doing?" I chatted with Janie and Beth, made dinner, and Laura set the table. Dinner was interrupted only by the girls' chatter. The rest of the week felt normal, except Laura was home more, not busy with work or her boyfriend. After the kids went to bed, I went to our home office to handle some errands. Laura appeared in the doorway. "Jason, can we talk?" she asked. "It's a little late for that, isn't it?" I replied, not looking up. "I don't want a divorce. I want us to be a family," she said, her voice wavering. "It's a little late for that, isn't it?" I repeated, my patience wearing thin. "How can I show you that? You're the one I love," she insisted. "It's a little late, isn't it?" I said again, unable to mask my frustration. "Why won't you talk to me, Jason? I've tried so many times over the last 2 years, and you've ignored me and our children. Now I'm ready to ignore you," she said, her tone turning accusatory. "I want us to go to marriage counseling," she proposed. "So you can do what? Spend time and money and then divorce? I don't think so. Go to all the therapists you want, just not with me," I retorted, my voice cold. "Jason, we can't get a divorce. The kids would get hurt," she argued. "The kids will get hurt? Did you think about that while you were with Scott?" "Your narcissism is showing, Laura," I shot back. "What?" she asked, taken aback. "For heaven's sake, go see a therapist. Better yet, pack a big bag and go stay with Scott." "Get away from me," I said, squeezing past Laura and heading to the bedroom I'd been using for months. I decided a hot shower was what I needed. As I stood under the jets, trying to collect my thoughts, Laura opened the door and tried to enter the shower. "What are you doing?" I asked, startled. "Please, Jace, let me in. We're family. I need you," she pleaded. "You need me." I held up my hand. "Stop it. You took me and the kids for granted, and now you want to avoid the consequences of your affair. Get out." Laura stared at me for a few seconds before walking away. After finishing my shower, I checked on the kids. An hour later, Laura's car was gone.
The bell rang at my door. Crap. Who could that be? This was a bad time. Then my phone buzzed with a text. Laura had sent me 3 texts in the last hour. Crap. "Scott, baby, who's there?" Marie, a friend, called out from the bedroom. "I'll handle it. You stay here." I got out of bed, put on my boxer briefs, grabbed my phone, and went into the kitchen. Crap. I wasn't supposed to see Laura until Thursday. What did she need? I answered the phone. "Hello?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's me, honey," Laura's voice came through. "What's going on?" I asked, feeling the tension build. "Open the door." I hesitated, trying to figure out what to do. I'd been dating Marie for a few months, and she was great. Laura's presence was a complication I didn't need. I knew her marriage was falling apart, and it was time to end things with her, but not now. Crap. "Now's not a good time. I'll call you in the morning," I said, hoping to buy some time. "Scott, I just need to talk to you."